Harmon Brittain wrote a letter to his sister, and he was talking about the upcoming presidential election, and he said he didn't know about the others, but he said, A. Lincoln is the man for me.
So this was in 1860.
I think it was in 62. I believe it was 62.
Huh.
Yeah, and I wish I'd have brought it. It's like a 4-page letter talking about the camp and.
Isn't he the same one that used to write poetry?
Yeah, Harmon did.
Harmon wrote poetry. We have some of his poems.
His letters as I take pen in hand and something about your letter.
So was he a soldier at that time for the Union?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He was a Union
What
soldier.
is this one? That's Dad's.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, this is when Leo wrote about when he was in the Army. When he joined and where he went different places.
Was he in Europe at all, or was he in the United States?
He went to Japan.
To Japan.
The Pacific.
There's Dallas.
Dallas.
That horse.
Oh, yeah.
He said, we left Sacramento and then 11 hours and 30 minutes later at Hickam Hawaii. It took them, I think they flew over there. He was about 3 weeks in New Guinea, and then he went to the Linguin Gulf in the Philippines, and he was assigned permanent to 5th Air Force, 405 Bomb Squad. And then he flew to Palawan in the Philippines, where there was a leopard colony. Then they went to Borneo.
Wow.
And bombed the Palapan. I don't know how you say that, oil field. And then they dropped parafrag bombs, which had parachutes, and it had metal fragments.
Oh, yeah.
And
Not in the Devil's Tail.
what was it? Oh, this is where he rode about the windshield. It got dirty, and the pilot flew down and picked up spray from his props with the windshield.
That's some good flying.
Yeah.
I would say look at him.
That too. When we were talking about taking the cows up in the mountains, there's a story, I guess it's true, about my grandfather, Chet, and Guy, his brother, up in the mountains riding horses. And of course, back in those days, you were pretty good horse rider. And they tried to rope a bear. And I don't know what they would have done if they had roped the bear. But it would have been a good trick to keep your horse under control.
Yes.
Trying to rope a bear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was riding, we had this old big horse, he looked like a workhorse. I was riding, and he had been used in the bucking string in a rodeo. And so we're coming down Dodge Road, and it was hot, really hot, but I reached up and took my hat off. When I took my hat off, that old horse took out running as fast as he could go.
He'd been trained.
And
From the bucking
I
string.
thought I was going to start hitting him with my hat. And he started running as fast as he could go. And Leo's dad was hard, put your hat on, put your hat on. I didn't have time to put my hat on, I was hanging on to the saddle. But anyway, I put my hat back on, and he stopped running.
Wow.
He thought when I took my hat off, I was going to hit him with it.
Cindy, we found the copy of the Abe Lincoln letter.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Starts.
Um,
That's
Does it
part
have
of
a
it.
date on it?
64.
64.
This one is 64.
Can you read it at all? Or
Well, you take a look at it and see what you think. It's,
Yeah, it's Dear Teresa. It is with pleasure that I seat myself to write you a few lines to you in answer to yours of August 25, which came to hand yesterday. I was glad to hear you as well. Yeah, and then it goes on. But,
is that the next page then? Over there.
yeah, that formal.
there's two letters.
Isn't that great?
And his handwriting is beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, he said
Well, you know, when they got married, he couldn't write. She taught him how to write. She was a school teacher.
Wow.
And he married her, and he didn't know how to write.
Huh.
And she taught him how to write.
Did he know how to read?
I don't
No.
think he could read either. I
Wow.
don't think he could read or write.
Wow.
I don't know if he could read or not.
What did you find?
it says, where he says, I think the guerrillas have pretty much all left this part of Missouri, and I would not be surprised if they leave
North
If they-
Missouri.
North Missouri before many days. There is considerable excitement here about the election. I think this county will give to
Votes? Or-
give her votes for George B. McClellan, which show how
How her loyalty stands.
her loyalty stands. As far as my part, I don't think a real genuine Union man would accept the nomination from the party that got up the Chicago platform. Though I have not seen the platform, but I have heard it is all compromising to the Confederacy and opposed to
the farther persecution.
persecution of
Of the war?
the war. I hear there is talk of Fremont drawing off, and I hope he will, for am of the opinion A. Lincoln is the man that ought to be elected. At least he is the man for me. I think the soldiers will pretty much all go for A. Lincoln.
The officers say we will have to enlist again if we get into the veteran service, and we will only get in as recruits then. So they need not count me in. I think we will be sent to the old 6th
Sooner?
some of
No,
these
some-
days.
some of these.
If not, I would just as leave serve here as anywhere if we could be paid off. But we will not get any pay while we remain with the 13th Missouri Veterans.
We get but little news here, so we are kept
Does
in the dark.
Angela have the original letter?
I do.
You have the original?
Hmm.
Concerning the news more
So than I like to be these times. I do not know whether you can read this after you get it or not, for my pen and ink are both bad, and I have taken not pains in writing. It's hard enough to read, but to just
It is.
understand
It is
the way they wrote.
quite a bit of
Yeah.
politics there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So his man won the election.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I got some letters in there, copies of them, that he wrote to his sisters here in Wamic
Mm-hmm.
in 1902. Some of his letters in there.
Yeah, there's one of those right here is a letter to no, that one was Teresa. This one is, I think Teresa wrote to him. Yeah, at the end he said,
Well, his wife
so,
went, took two of the kids, the youngest ones, and went to, down to, Jacksonville, Oregon. Down, and she was trying to get him, Harmon, to come down there and work for somebody that's building a road down toward the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want to stay here. I don't think she liked it here. And some of the family think she didn't figure on coming back here. And she got typhoid fever and died down there.
Oh boy.
And it was about, I think it was about 3 months
Is that her?
before they found out that she was dead.
Do you want to put that back in?
There wasn't much
Was it
communication
No.
at that time.
Yeah. I was just thinking about those letters that mail,
Right there.
how long it would take a
Yeah.
letter to get to someone.
Yeah.
This is the death certificate for Papa Orange.
Is what?
The death certificate for Papa Orange.
What does it say was wrong with him?
He died.
I can't read. What's that say?
Emphysema and something.
They got a marriage license and death certificates and all kinds of stuff. My daughter that died, Jennifer's sister died, she did all this research.
And she was a member of the
Dairy
DAR.
Mm-hmm.
This is Harmon, the one who wrote that letter about A. Lincoln.
Oh,
That's a picture of him.
Hmm. And what was your sister's name?
Margaret.
Margaret.
Chapters in Portland.
Who is that?
It says Harmon.
That was when he was young.
Oh.
Oh.
That was his Civil War picture.
Oh, he doesn't have a mustache. I didn't recognize him.
I thought it was a woman.
This is. I don't
Not
have
a very
I don't have
pretty
a
one.
copy of that picture.
I don't
I don't
have
know
that
if you
one
can get
either.
the glare off of it or not.
Yeah.
That's when he would have written what he would have looked like when he wrote the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, skipping ahead now to your life here, and let's kind of go through the seasons. I just want to hear kind of about a typical day in the spring for you and your husband. What would a day be like in the spring?
Hectic.
Well, I get up,
Plowing.
go out, milk cows first thing.
About
Go out, milk cows, come in and have breakfast, then do a day's work, and
Run the milk through the separator.
yeah,
Feed the chickens, collect the eggs.
and
And Dad would be plowing in the spring.
yeah, and it'd be so cold. They didn't have cabs on their tractors. You sit out in that wind all day.
yeah.
Well, that's one reason that we had to sell the ranch. It was just too much. You couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, Leo's dad got Alzheimer's, and I don't think he would ever sold a ranch if he hadn't got Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And of course, that comes on slow,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's happening really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They worked it outside in all kinds of weather. Even
Yeah.
when it was 40 below zero. What year was that?
Not 40.
When was it?
36.
36.
Got at 35 one time.
35 below.
But it was down to 20 degrees. Sometimes it'd be several days it'd stay down to 20 below zero.
Yeah.
And Dad would still have to go out and use an axe to chop.
Water for the cows.
Yeah, he chopped holes in the pond so the
I
cows could
remember
get
once
water.
he came in, and of course he had his cap, just his mouth and nose and his eyes sticking out. But it was just like frost all over him. He was just covered with frost. It was so cold. And of course, about 20 below zero, and the cows would get out. You had to go chase cows or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember once it was in the spring, and we started having baby calves, and some of them were way down about a mile down below where those blueberries are. And the calf wouldn't cross the creek. The old cow went across, but the calf wouldn't cross. I had to get down and take that calf and wade and push him across the creek. And I got him across, but I was wet to my waist. And I had to walk from way down there to the house up here.
Oh, wow.
I about froze to death.
I bet.
It was all kind of bad things happened. And
when you rode Chipper up in the mountains, a Palomino horse that my grandfather raised, and you had to, it was so steep that you had to walk.
well, it was steep and it was trees down.
Trees,
You
yeah.
had to climb over logs and stuff. And I hurt my knee. I got a dent in my kneecap where I chipped it. And I had to, you couldn't ride the horse over, you had to lead him. And it's down in the Forks of Badger. Her badger, a big badger and little badger comes together.
Yeah.
I said, no way will ever get me down there again unless one of the kids is there and tell me one of the kids is lost.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'll ever go down in that place again.
It's deep.
It's probably still like that. I've never been back.
Well, tell what happened when they were building a fence up there in the mountains, Dad and Pa, and they got hurt.
Oh, they were putting up at the valley. We had a cabin up in the mountains where they stay when they go riding for cows, and they were in the wintertime. They would take cables and twist them and tighten them up and hold the sides of the house together so the snow wouldn't collapse it. And he got his arm that they were twisting it with a stick.
Yeah.
And it broke and hit him under the arm here.
Oh.
It was like a big sack of blood, like about the size of a grapefruit here under his arm. And I had to...
and Pa broke bones in the top of his hand where the stick hit.
Chet broke, it hit him across the hand, broke his hand. And Leo had this big sack like a grapefruit under his arm. And you know, funny thing, it didn't tear his jacket. He had a denim jacket. And it didn't tear his jacket, but it cut his arm. And
Wow.
Way up in the mountains, and they both came in. Mom was in the cabin. They both came in wounded, needing help.
I didn't have anything but a dish towel to doctor him with. But I did tie Leo's arm up with a dish towel, and he had to drive the truck all the way back down here from Badger Lake.
Terrible
that's
road.
Still a terrible road.
Yeah.
It was a big horse truck with rack on the back.
Oh my gosh.
One night I came up there that had to drive a truck. I took them up there and unloaded them and unloaded the horses, and I had to come back home and do chores. And I left him up there to ride for cows. And I got out, started home, and I looked at the truck, the gas tank was empty. It said empty, registered empty.
Oh, shoot.
And it was almost dark. I was scared to death coming down that mountain. I thought it was going to run out of gas before I got home. I don't know why he forgot to put gas in it. But I'd take him up there. Earl Davis was one of the guys. Earl got lots of memories of Earl Davis up there with. And Howard Crawford. He probably died before you came here.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Yeah. And George Nelson and Jim Kennedy. But I never knew Jim very much when he was older, a lot older.
Is that Lois Kennedy's husband?
Oh, her father-in-law.
Father.
Yeah, her father-in-law.
Tell her the story about how I came to be, how Mom and Dad met.
Well, my sister came out here to visit, and married Cindy's mother,
Or
Leo's cousin.
Dad.
And she just came out to visit me and just married him.
She never said anything, but we think she had a boyfriend she broke up with and probably got mad. And she came out to visit. And my dad was dating a girl here, and she wanted to get married. But she had some other ideas about my uncle, who was already married to my aunt. Anyway, Dad told her that he couldn't marry her because he was going to marry Thelma's sister when she got here. And Mom got here on the 4th of August. And I guess they were over here living on the ranch, and Dad drove up and down the road and waited for somebody to come out and tell him to come in, and then he met Mom. And that was the 4th of July, and they got married the 18th of August.
Wow.
So Thelma had never become a pen pal with Leo. I would never have been here.
Or me.
Or you. Yeah.
I wondered if it had never been for the World War II, I probably never would have been here either.
Who were your friends in the community when you came out? Who were the other people that you became close to?
Well, at Ross's, Susie's mom and dad, and McGill's. Well, McGill's are related to us, not through the Brittain side, but on the Parker side. Lane McGill's grandmother was a first cousin to Leo's mother, and but they were on the Parker side of the family.
What about the pizzas?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Peaches were on the Wing side.
I know, but
For friends.
Yeah, they were Pete's. Dorothy and Billy Pete's lived over here in this Pete's Ranch, and they were our closest friends. And Ross's. And well, there wasn't very many people here when I first came here, except farmers, just the farmers. And you see somebody go down the road, you know who it was and where they were going, what they were going for.
Yeah, and you always knew when somebody got a new car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you recognized every car that went by.
Were you lonely being away from your family? Were you lonely as a young woman?
Yeah, the first year I was here, I think I went back home 4 times. I
Wow.
couldn't make up my mind I was going to stay in this place. It took me about 2 or 3 years to get used to and decide I would stay. Yeah. Yeah, I went back home a lot of times.
How did you travel?
Did you go by train?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody flew then. The first time I flew was 1960, and my mama was sick. And my mom went to the hospital and thought she was going to die. That she did 2 months later, but anyway, we flew back there, and that was 1960. Went on train before then. But Mom and Daddy came out here over summer, spent the summer out here with us.
I have that same picture too.
Oh. One of Dad's relatives is in that picture, I think.
That one with the white pants on over there, and the far left.
Yeah.
See on the far left?
On the far left.
Oh.
Is that a scalpel?
Orville?
Orville Flynn.
Orville Flynn.
Yeah.
He's related.
Well, maybe it's not the same, but it's of Celilo, but it looks...
That's a print.
Yeah.
That's a print that Wilma Roberts had. Orville drowned right close to that place, 1947. Leo fished off of that same scalpel where
Wow.
Orville is.
Wow.
He had a commercial license, and Leo helped him fish.
Huh. My grandfather drowned at Shears Falls.
Oh, really?
In,
Who was that? Who was your grandpa?
Ali Grunwald, and he was superintendent of the schools out here. That was back in like 29, I think, 28 or 29, 1928 or 29. And they were fishing on the Deschutes above Shears Falls, and his son Gerald fell in, and he went in after him, and they both drowned.
I've heard that story.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my grandfather's twin brother. And then my grandfather died a year later of cancer. So the mother lost her only two sons,
Wow.
you know, and her grandson within a year of each other.
How awful.
Yeah.
Do you remember hearing about the All Indian Rodeo that used to be at Ty Valley?
Yeah.
Our family started that with
Oh, you did?
the Brittans and the Ashleys and
George Nelson.
It was a bunch of them all got together and formed the Saddle Club.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Dodd.
or
Taiwama. Taiwama Saddle Club.
Taiwama. I heard of that, yeah.
And Joe Dodd lives down there by the blinking light. Down there where
Lindale.
Lindales have it. That's where Joe Dodd lived. And he was the first president of the Saddle Club.
So they decided to put on a rodeo every year.
We had a good rodeo and wild horses from Warm Springs. But then later, the horses got sleeping sickness.
Oh.
And they wouldn't allow them.
They were quarantined.
Okay.
They wouldn't allow them to come off of the reservation. And it just kind of broke it up. They rented professional string, but people didn't care about that. They could go anywhere and see that. They wanted the wild horses is what brought them.
They were unpredictable. Some of them had never been in a corral before.
Oh,
Some of
that
those horses.
sounds dangerous.
Well, some of them would just sit down when they try to ride them.
Huh.
Some of them would come out of the bucking chute and wouldn't buck, but they'd run all the way around and around.
You never knew.
You never knew what they were going to do. But it was really entertaining.
So was it all
Jet run
Indian?
that?
Go ahead. Yeah, he
Jet
was.
run that?
For some part of the time, my grandfather. They had wild horses off the reservation, and the Warm Springs Indians would come over and set up their teepees over there, and then they'd be in the grand entry with all their regalia on. And we just had wooden benches to sit on up on the hillside. And at one
time they had to sit on the ground.
Before we built that, yeah, that's true. They sat just on the rocks, and people brought
down
blankets.
at Davis's?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Where the alpacas are now.
Yes. Yeah. And it would be so hot, and there would always be a heat stroke or two, and you could always tell when a rattlesnake or a scorpion came out because you could see the people part. There would be a big open spot, and you knew from down below, that's where the rattlesnake or the scorpion was.
Wow.
It was quite a show.
It was fun.
We had a good time until the teenagers moved in. Teenagers started bringing their drinks in with them. They started drinking and having, all they wanted to do was party. And it just kind of broke it up.
When was that when that kind of ended?
In the mid-70s, was it? That it broke up?
I was thinking the
80s.
80s.
It
Was it 80s?
It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still had after we moved over here.
How about any family traditions around holidays or any kind of...
When I was growing up.
Yeah.
My dad would milk cows, and we'd always have Christmas at my grandfather's house. And he would bring the milk in to run in the separator before he would come up for supper. And as kids, we would sit there and listen for the separator, because we knew as soon as he got done with the separator and came up to eat supper, then we could open presents that evening.
And that was Christmas Eve or
Christmas
Day?
Eve.
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
Eve.
I remember one Christmas, 1964.
That was the best year.
They had a flood
The 64 flood.
Yep.
at Christmas time, and we had to eat Christmas, Christmas Eve with lamplight. We had-
Kerosene lantern.
The power went off, and it flooded. The bridge was started down at Ty Valley, and people, the next day for Christmas, people would come from over to Mauban, coming this way, bring their car down to the bridge, and then somebody would be going this way, going that way, and trade cars so they could go where they
The cars
wanted to go.
couldn't get through, but
Yeah.
the people could go around and use somebody else's car to go to the Dalles.
You could walk
Yeah.
across the bridge, but you couldn't drive across it.
Yep.
Was that here
In Ty Valley.
In Ty.
Yeah, in Ty.
The water was up right under the bridge, and the White River Bridge washed out,
Yeah.
washed completely out.
I've seen pictures.
And then there was a
Yeah.
big mudslide just past Ty Valley as you were starting up Butler Canyon. It was just before you got there. A mudslide covered half of the road there. Transformers went out.
Where is Butler Canyon?
When you start up the hill going out of Ty Valley
Right.
toward the Dalles.
That's that
That's
whole,
that whole
canyon.
canyon.
the 197 follows Butler
Right.
Canyon.
Right. to
Yeah,
the
from
top.
a saddle club
Tie
ground.
grade.
The saddle club ground down there.
Uh-huh.
All the way up to where Mike Philbin has his rodeo now up on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called Butler Canyon.
Did you have any special foods like at Christmas or Thanksgiving? Did you have traditional?
We've always had turkey for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Turkey and pumpkin pie.
Well, and every Sunday we had fried chicken growing
Mhm.
up. That was
Ah.
Mom's specialty. That southern
Well,
fried chicken.
I had butchered so many of them in the summertime I had.
We had Sunday chicken.
They last from one year to the next.
And she always did pies. She had the best pies in the county. Everybody said that.
And the best fried chicken.
It got so that if there was a gathering in the area, if they knew Mom was going to be bringing pies, nobody else wanted to make any because they didn't want to compete.
She made 13 pies one time.
Oh my gosh.
One day.
In one day.
Wow.
She
Wow.
said she wished she had a nickel for every pie she made.
Yeah, I'd like to see a stack of them.
Yeah.
No recipe. It's all by feel.
She's trying to teach me, but I can't.
It's not.
I'm not a
It's
good
not
pie
the same.
maker. I'm not a good pie maker.
No.
Jennifer makes, she made a movie of me making a pumpkin pie
Instructional video.
for my granddaughter. And she made one just as good as mine.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't think Jennifer tries to make any.
No.
I tried to make your apple pie, but it didn't turn out.
Let's see. I had another.
Tom McDowell likes my pie.
Mhm.
Yes, he does. Tom McDowell likes you.
Yeah.
He
Well.
thinks you are a sweetheart. He
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
He was my neighbor, but then he moved.
Oh, he moved. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you know where he lives up there, the big old
Mhm.
barn. That's a Wing family barn,
Oh,
and
it
it's
is.
made with pegs. It has no
Mhm.
nails,
Wow.
and it's
Yeah.
a huge barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the original Wing family barns.
So there must have just been, I don't know, well, probably more, because I looked at those pictures in the Grange of the dances, and there'd be like 200 people there.
Mhm.
So I was thinking that must have been a really small town, but it really was bigger. There were more people.
Well, people from over on Wapanesha, Maupin, and around, everybody came over here. We had a Christmas dance at Wamic, and we have a New Year's dance down at Ty Valley. and we had a St. Patrick's Day dance over to Wapanisha. There was a big hall over there. I guess maybe that's still there. I don't know.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have dances up there.
Yeah.
And they used to have that dance, the powder, the dance, what did they call that?
Yeah.
In the can?
Oh, some kind of stuff.
Yeah, shake on the wood floor.
Yeah, the wood floor, they had this powder that you shook all over the floor to make it slick so you could dance on it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I remember one time, a lotto driver came in and asked me, he said, "Where's this the powder, just sprinkle on the floor?" I said, "I don't know, I can't find the floor." We used to have some good times.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And they liked to fight. That was a big to-do at the dances. My grandfather was one of the...
He's the one that liked to fight.
He liked to
Fight, like fisticuffs?
Yeah.
Kind of,
He used to box, but
Oh.
the big deal was to have a little bit too much to drink, and then you could get in a big fight with your neighbor.
He'd always try to get in a fight with him.
But they never parted enemies. They always parted friends. And
His nickname was Bull.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, he loved a good fight.
I was just reading about, Wes Ross wrote about his dad, Billy Ross, the guy, coming back from someplace, coming down, I think it was down around Shears Bridge, and they decided they wanted to fight somebody. They were drinking, of course,
Yeah.
and so they stopped one car, and the guys didn't want to fight. They second one, and they didn't want to fight. But the third car, they decided they'd fight with him. And then after they got through fighting, they all had a drink.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a story about my grandfather that Everett Metzentine told this story, and he said that if Guy Brittain had his hands down and made a fist and then kind of just bounced on his toes and then he chuckled, he said, you knew you were going to get hit. Yeah. He said when he started to chuckle, that's when you knew he was going to hit somebody. Yeah.
Huh.
I think there was a lot of that, just any kind of entertainment they could think of to do because there wasn't much else but work. So,
People work pretty hard.
Very
Just
hard.
Physically, yeah.
Very hard.
yes,
So when you have time to play, you play hard.
yes.
I don't know.
Well, there was no television, and people didn't sit around and listen to the radio, and there was just no other entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The Greens Hall with their dances was all the entertainment there was. You didn't go to the Dalles very often,
No.
and I guess they had movies in the Dalles, but they didn't have. Well, they had them at Maupin when I first came out here.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a couple movies over to
Legion
the
Hall.
Legion Hall at Maupin.
Well, I know they had movies down at Ty at the Lodge Hall when Dad was little, but they had moved from up on Smock down to the ranch, and Dad said that he would run down over the hill to go to the movies, but his sister, the older sister, Norma, Grandma would make him take Norma with him. And he didn't want his little sister following along, so he'd run as fast as he could, and she couldn't keep up, and she'd get a little ways down the road and stop and cry and go home. Yeah. But I don't know how long they did movies down there or when they quit doing them.
Our grandfathers were in a movie at Ty Valley
Yes.
when they were young. What year was that?
1925.
25.
They
There was
made
a
a
movie,
movie.
a western,
Oh.
made in Ty Valley, and we
Yes.
have some photographs of them on horseback. They were extras.
Oh.
Yes.
What
They-
was the name of it? We
Well,
thought it was The Fighting Parson, but it
That's
wasn't.
The Fighting Romeo.
The Fighting
Oh.
Romeo was the name of the movie.
And that's why nobody could ever find it. But I did find that much. Yeah. But I can't find the movie. I still haven't been. I got the name, but I couldn't get to the movie. So, but yeah, there were a lot of the local people that did the trick riding, and the stunt riding. Our grandfathers and our great-grandfather did stunt riding for the movie. And it starred Al Ferguson, who was one of the big silent movie western stars of the time.
Who was?
Al Ferguson.
Oh, Fergus.
Yeah.
And Laura, the girl was Laura LaPlante.
Yep.
Laura
Laura
LaPlante.
LaPlante was on the
Yeah.
name of the photo.
Just any other well, just kind of general questions about your parents, your mom and dad. Just what kind of people they were, what they were like.
Well, they went to church, and that was their entertainment. But Sundays going to church was about all they did, and then working hard, were hard workers, and big families.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a big family. Some of Mama's brothers and some of Daddy's family had 12 and 14 kids. People, I don't know why they had so many kids back in those days. Well, they all stayed home, I guess, and didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, the story of how Grandpa Shorty and Granny met was the family sent a picture to my grandfather's brother of my grandmother, and they wanted them to get together. And my grandfather came home and saw the picture, and he said, "There's my wife."
Wow.
Yeah. And he ended up marrying her, and she played the pump organ, and he'd get her to play the organ so he could catch a glimpse of her ankles.
Yeah, I can remember Daddy said he just would have given anything to see Mama's ankles.
Yeah.
They wore long, they had
The long dresses.
dresses.
Oh,
You couldn't even
Yes.
see their ankles.
wow. Even with the hard work they were doing. Huh.
My mom had a boyfriend. Her brother didn't like him, and wanted her to break up with him. And he told her, this was 1916, and he told her if she'd break up with that guy, he'd give her a gold watch. Well, Jennifer's got the gold watch. She broke up with him, and Jennifer's got the watch. It's a little Elgin, and it's a locket. It's a watch with a, press button opened up to a watch.
Hmm.
And I took it to the jewelry. He said it was made in 1916.
Hmm.
And it has a gold chain. That gold chain is with it. When I had it to the jewelry store, I cut it one time. Cut that chain, made it shorter. It's a long chain. And I took it to the jewelry store. I was going to have it put back together. He said, "I can't put that back together." He said, "I don't have anything that small." And it's so old and was so small, the jewelry couldn't put it back together.
Tell her about Uncle Walker.
Walkie-talkie.
And Uncle Walker, some of the things that he used to do. Tell him about your Uncle Walker going into the church.
Oh, he was working on the railroad, and wet, real wet and dirty and black. And they went to he and a couple of the guys went to a Negro church revival. They were having a revival. So they went in with so black and cold and wet. and these old black women, they sat with some black women, and they started shouting and waving their hands, and so he decided he started shouting and hitting those old women over the head with his wet hat. And one of his friends stayed outside, didn't go in, and he sneaked in and told them that a bunch of the black guys was waiting for him outside. When they come out of the church, they was going to get him. And he sneaked in and told him that, so they climbed out a back window. Left by a back window. But
That was Mom's uncle.
He was something else. I don't know what else you'd want to hear. Okay.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't know who would want to read about it.
Oh, you're a wealth of information.
I can remember things pretty good, but
yeah. Yeah,
And
you
the
there
years.
wasn't too much going on around here in those years.
Oh.
Like I say, there was nobody around here but farmers until Cody's Logging Company came in. When the Cody's came in, what was it, about 1950?
Probably right in there.
Probably 50, 55. Butchers came here in 1950. Norman Butchers.
And he worked for them.
Yeah. Well, they came in 1950. And that's when it was a lot of people here came from
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Huh.
Yes. There was a couple of Wisconsin came here and they told everybody about the logging.
Ah.
So a lot of the loggers came from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Then they set up Cody's camp up at Rock Creek.
Yeah. Huh. And you grew up, you both went to Maupin School in Wamic?
Cindy went to Thai, and I went to Wamic.
Okay.
The dividing line was between our ranches.
I went to Wamic 7th and 8th grade. I went to Thai from 1st to 6th, and then to Wamic for 2 years.
Did you know Lenore Walters?
I didn't, but I did a slideshow. Someone had donated all of her photographs, and so Rusty and I and a couple other women, we worked on putting them into a slideshow, and for the Historical Society.
I don't think Lenore was any relation to us. She was to Cindy.
Yeah,
Was
the Woodchucks, yeah,
Through the drivers.
through my grandmother.
Ah.
Yes.
But Lenore wasn't a relation to me. But she was always my friend. I always liked Lenore.
She scared me.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say that.
As a
Like
little kid.
Susie Alsop says that.
Yeah.
She scared me as a teacher.
As a little, as a little kid, she was quite the drill sergeant type, and I always kind of ducked a little bit when I was around
Well,
her.
she was in the WAC
Racks.
in the Army. And I don't know, maybe she was a drill sergeant. I'm not sure what.
If she was, I think she was a sergeant, wasn't she?
I think she was.
Yeah, Colette had some funny stories about her. I don't know, one time when she was living with Colette was, in her later years, Colette was taking care of her in her home. And she remembers taking her to church one time, and I think the minister was kind of, how did she describe it, kind of revving things up, and Lenore stood up and said, "If you're going to talk like that, I'm not coming back."
Yeah,
and kind of quiet.
she would do that. Yeah, that's what she would
Very
do.
outspoken.
Yes.
Yeah, but Susie says the same thing you did. She really scared her when she was a student of hers. Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad to have you. I don't know what I told you could use.
All of it. All of it. Yeah. Now, is this an extra copy of the Brittain Connection?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll leave it here and then.
I don't know what it is.
I don't think there's I don't know that you have another copy of that. I might have it.
Wait, this is all part of that.
Mhm.
6 pages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have.
Okay.
I've got it on a computer somewhere. I don't know which computer.
Yeah, that's the problem. We lose stuff when we go from one computer to
Yeah.
another.
I was talking about back in Virginia, they still fighting the Civil War. There was a girl in the Dalles. She just got married, and she married this guy from back in Virginia. And he told her, when we go back there, don't mention the Civil War.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about the Civil War.
Still a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know it was for Grandpa Shorty,
Where
Yeah.
is he from?
Virginia.
Virginia
Mom's
too.
dad.
Oh.
Mhm.
Ah.
Mom's
Okay.
dad.
So were they on the side of the Confederacy then? Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer's got 3 grandfathers that were in the Civil War. My mother's father was in the Civil War. He was pretty old at that time. He had 5 kids, he had 4 kids, but he had to go to fight. And he said one summer he put on Grandma's dress and plowed the field with Grandma's dress, so nobody would know it was him.
Huh.
If anybody saw him, they wouldn't know it was him.
Wow.
But you see, they were fighting all around their homes. Back there, you never knew where they were. And a lot of places were just right around home.
Yeah.
Well, Grandpa
Huh.
Shorty found, what was it? A spur or he found something in the yard from the Civil War.
Yeah, part of a spur.
Part of a spur.
Dave did too, didn't he?
Dave found lots of stuff
Yeah.
Mhm.
with his metal detector. He's got quite a collection.
Huh.
My uncle.
I have
So the Confederacy and the Union people united. Yeah.
Yes, they
They
did.
really did during
Yeah.
the war.
there wasn't any Union guys around much. They didn't stay around there after the war. The Union guys left.
We found a little place in Missouri called Brittonville, right close to Kirbyville. Whole cemetery full of Britons.
Huh. Okay, save it up. Save it up.